how's it going? Welcome back to my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome back, guys, to Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. How are you guys doing? How is Mother Nature treating you in gardening zones where you live? How is your home gardening coming along? Why don't you guys let me know in the comments below. Right now, we are in the middle of summer. The skies are blue, nice and warm and sunny. But many of us right now, in this point in the summer, might be wondering why our tomatoes are not ripening as quickly as we want them to ripen. Right now, many of us gardeners are getting frustrated. We want to pick those tomatoes now, as soon as possible, so we can enjoy the sweet, delicious flavor. So many of us are doing something that we shouldn't be doing to our tomato plants. No, guys, don't do that. By doing that, you are in fact harming and hurting your tomato plants. So in today's video, we're going to get into one of the reasons why it might take our tomato plants as long as it does to ripen, what we should not be doing to our tomato plants, and what 3 things we as home gardeners can actually do to help speed up the ripening process of our tomatoes. So for those of you who are looking for that online channel that offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take our home garden to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around. Start with clicking the subscribe button below. And if you like the content of my videos and don't want to miss any of my new videos, click the bell icon as well. YouTube will notify you every single time I'll upload a new gardening video. Now come with me, let's talk all about our tomato plants and why they might not be ripening as fast as we want them to ripen. So in today's video, we're going to talk about our tomatoes and why sometimes it takes as long as it takes them to ripen, guys. We'll also go into the mistake that many of us home gardeners make in the quest of trying to rush this ripening process, trying to make our tomatoes ripen faster than they are doing indeed. Despite the contrary belief that tomatoes ripen from being exposed to direct sunlight, sun rays, tomatoes do not ripen, guys, from being exposed to direct sunlight. They ripen by manufacturing and releasing a compound called ethylene gas, hence making tomatoes ripen and release those sugars, which in turn make our tomatoes as sweet and as delicious as they are. When released, ethylene gas will begin to break down the natural bitter tannins in the actual tomato fruit, guys, which in turn helps to change the pigmentation of our fruits, changes them from green to lighter subtle colors, then brighter red or pink or yellow, depending on the tomato variety, and releasing the sugars inside of our tomato fruits. This is precisely why you can continue ripening your tomato fruit inside, indoors, on your kitchen countertop. Even when placed and left on a kitchen countertop in the shade, tomato fruits will continue to release and give off their own ethylene gas. Hence, they will continue to ripen even inside, indoors, away from absolutely any sunlight. Another very interesting yet accurate fact about tomatoes is that if and when you stack more than a few tomatoes on your kitchen counter at one point, they all will be releasing that ethylene gas. So the more tomatoes you cluster together, the more ethylene gas they will release in turn. Hence, help each other ripen much faster than you say leaving individual tomatoes in isolation and you are outside. At this point in the season, many of us are just finally ready to start harvesting our tomatoes. We are excited to taste the fruits of our hard-earned labor. And this is when this most commonly asked question comes about. How can we speed up the ripening process of our tomato fruits. And this is exactly when they make one of the most horrid mistakes they can possibly make when it comes to tomato plants. And this horrid mistake is removing leaves from our tomato plants. They're thinking that by ripping off the stems and the leaves, they will speed up the ripening process of the tomato by exposing the tomato fruit to direct sunlight. And that could not be any farther from the actual truth. In fact, it's the worst, one of the worst things you can do to your tomato plant, especially at this stage of the growing season. The leaves of our tomato plants act as solar panels. They indeed absorb solar radiation from the sunlight, convert it to sugar, which then in turn plants use as a form of energy. When you remove your tomato plant's leaves, you are removing their so-called solar panels. So now they are collecting less energy. Hence, it slows down the entire plant even more so, guys. Furthermore, you're backing up your plant to pieces, which is very, very stressful for your plant, and it sends the entire plant into severe shock, and in turn slows down their entire growing process and their entire production process. So again, guys, for those of you fellow gardeners who have heard this before, that you should be removing the plant's leaves, hence exposing your tomatoes to more direct sunlight, hence you're going to speed up the ripening process. Remember, guys, that is a total myth. In fact, the only leaves that you should be pruning from your tomato plants are the leaves that are on the bottom third of your tomato plant. And why are we removing these leaves? These leaves at the bottom of our plant gets removed to prevent them from touching the soil and spreading the soil-borne bacteria, the fungus infections that we were talking about before. The upper leaves on the upper portion of our tomato plants should never be touched or interfered with unless they are diseased or unless you see some sort of a yellowing on these leaves. That would be the only instance to potentially prune those leaves off or pinch those leaves off. Another reason why you should not be removing the leaves right now in this stage from your tomato plants is that the leaves also protect our tomato plants. They serve as this umbrella almost that is protecting our tomato fruit from intense sunburn or sun scald. As you could see over here, my tomato fruits are nicely tucked under the leaves. So the leaves are keeping the fruit protected as well. So the fruit that ripens in direct sunlight will have more tough skin and will not taste the same as the tomatoes that ripened under that protective leaf cover, or say even inside, indoors on a shaded countertop in your kitchen. Shade ripened tomatoes will have softer, more delicate skin, and they will be superior in shape and in texture to those tomatoes that ripened in direct sunlight. Now that I've told you guys exactly what not to do when trying to help speed up the ripening process of your tomatoes, let me get into some things, in fact 3 things that us home gardeners can and should do to help speed up the ripening process of our tomato plants. Again, guys, there are 3 things that us home gardeners can do to help speed up the ripening process of our tomato. The first thing that we can do is called topping off our tomato plants, and let me explain to you exactly what that means. Topping off is a process, it's a procedure in which we either pinch off or cut off the top portion of our tomato plant. So by cutting off or the upper portion of our tomato plant, it's also known as topping off our tomato plants. What we are doing is we are stopping the vegetative growth of our tomato plant. Because the idea is if we cut off the very top and stop the vegetative process of our tomato plant, the plant will conserve the energy and send this energy into helping to ripen the tomato fruit quicker than it would have done naturally if we did not top off the tomato plant. By allowing our tomato plant to grow as tall as it wants to grow, by not controlling the height of our tomato plant, we're allowing our tomato plant to waste all its energy into production and maintenance and upkeep of its leaves and the stems. So by cutting off the top portion of tomato plant, by topping off, as they say, our tomato plant, we are telling our tomato plant to send that energy into its existing fruits, to focus on helping those fruits ripen and to become as sweet as they can possibly get. Another thing that we can do to help our tomato fruit ripen quicker is to remove some of the existing tomatoes from our tomato plants. Because the theory is the less fruit on your tomato plant, the less energy your tomato plant has to waste on helping the existing fruit ripen. So the less fruit on the plant, the quicker that fruit will indeed ripen. Tip number 3 that can help our tomato plants ripen those tomato fruits quicker, and that is to harvest, to pick any tomatoes that are already flush in color. By looking at your tomato fruit, if you see any fruit that is at least 20 to 30% ripe, such as this guy over here, you should harvest this fruit, bring it inside indoor, place it on a shaded countertop, guys, and let it ripen even more inside indoors in a shaded area. Again, remember guys, tomatoes do not need direct sunlight to ripen. Even if you harvest it at this point, when it's only about 30% ripe, and bring it inside indoors, it will continue to naturally release ethylene gas and will continue to ripen for you inside indoors. And now, as a bonus, I want to share a very interesting fact, or indeed a tip with you guys. It is absolutely not necessary to leave your tomatoes to ripen on the vine. So by picking your tomatoes, harvesting them when they're about 25% ripe, and placing them on a countertop or somewhere indoors, you're also running less risk of them being damaged or eaten by pests and insects. Because remember, the more ripe our tomato fruits get, the sweeter they get, and they become more and more attractive to pests and insects. So now that you harvested your semi-ripened tomato fruit and you brought it inside indoors, I want to share this gardening tip with you guys on what you can do to help speed up that tomato ripening process. So what can and should you guys do? I've done it many times before, and I guarantee you guys that this method legitimately works. If you bring your tomato fruit inside semi-ripened, place it near either apples, bananas, or both fruits. And let me tell you why. Both apples and bananas also release ethylene gas naturally. So by placing your tomatoes near apples, bananas, or even both, you can have all three fruit releasing ethylene gas, guys. And guess what? The more ethylene gas that is released, the quicker our tomato fruits will ripen. Out of all the tips and advice that I shared in today's video with you guys, the best advice I can give you is try not to rush Mother Nature, guys. Let's try not to step over Mother Nature. Our tomato plants are smart. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're taking their time for a certain reason. So if you can be patient and calm and let Mother Nature do her work, then you're doing the best thing that you can possibly do for your vegetables and your fruit in your home garden. I know that this growing season is in full gear, but for future reference, guys, those of you who enjoy consuming or harvesting tomatoes earlier on in the season, try to either plant determinate tomato varieties or cherry tomato varieties. Cherry tomatoes do tend to ripen way sooner in the season than our indeterminate tomato varieties. Indeterminate tomato varieties take much longer to ripen. So an example of indeterminate tomato varieties are either our beef steak tomatoes or heirloom tomato varieties. Those tomatoes do tend to get significantly larger in size than the determinate tomatoes or the cherry tomatoes. But then again, they take much longer to grow and of course to ripen. This is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on this beautiful, sunny, hot day in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, we spoke about one of my probably most favorite crops to grow in my home garden, and that is our tomatoes. We spoke about the possible reasons why our tomato plants might not be ripening as quickly as we possibly want them to ripen. Also in today's video, we spoke about the one thing none of us should do to our tomato plants, especially this late in the growing season, thinking that by doing this, we're helping speed up the ripening process of our tomato fruits. And that thing that we should not do is pluck or cut the upper leaves on our tomato plant. That will in no way help speed up the ripening process of our tomato fruits. And indeed, I shared 3 useful, proven ways how we can indeed help speed up the ripening process of our tomato fruits. So for those of you who enjoyed the content of this video, if you found this video to be useful, helpful, informative in any way, show me that support, guys, by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments below as well, guys. Let me know, are you growing tomatoes in your home garden this year? Are you growing the determinate, maybe indeterminate tomato varieties? If so, how much harvest have you been able to pick this year so far? And for those of you who haven't yet done so, don't be shy, guys. Don't wait any longer. Subscribe to my gardening channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. Click the bell icon if you want YouTube to notify you every time I'll upload a new gardening video. As I always wish you guys, be well, be healthy. Health is the most important thing out there, guys. And be happy, guys. And I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.